You're back.
I made it.
Yeah. For those who don't know, like as I clicked the countdown, Mr. Foster disappeared. You vanished out of the feed. I thought it was some kind of April Fool's joke where you said, "Okay, I'm ready, Steve," and then you just left. But anyway, hello, my name is Steve Jaguar.
And I'm Mike Foster.
And welcome once again to... And for the legal eagle, the thoughts expressed on the show belong to the presenters only and not any employer or sponsor. Sponsors.
That's fitting, especially for a post-April Fool's show. So definitely.
Yeah. You'll find out why later. Yes, absolutely. Welcome once again. This is April 2nd. We never say the date, We probably should do that.
Yeah, it's recorded on April 2nd. We do it live on Twitch, which means if you're on Twitch, follow us. You'll get notifications when we go live, which basically is now every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, GMT?
GMT, Greenwich Mean Time.
And 9 a.m. if you are on the West Coast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like us, leave a comment. Tell us what we're doing right or wrong. Love to hear from you. But yeah, we got a great show for you. We have actually a pretty packed show. Kubernetes release coming up. We have a PHP Git server hacked. We're going to talk about Preflight. We have a little demo for you that Steve's going to show. A little Preflight noob demo. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So yeah, it's a good show. Thanks for joining, and let's get right into it. First order of business, Steve. What do you got?
Yeah, I think the first order of business is, do we want to do the call outs? Because we have a few things that we did or are doing coming up soon.
Yes.
In the past and the future. Last Monday, Michael and I did a podcast as kind of a dessert to the full meal that happened at the DevSecOps London, where we did a CK whatever certification session. And then we followed that up with a podcast that you can, if you missed the event, listen to. It's called DSO Overflow. Stands for DevSecOps Overflow. Find it on all good podcast sources. Should be coming out in the next few weeks. So best option is to find that podcast and subscribe.
And for the Meetup folks, we have another Meetup coming up next week. So next Thursday, we have Jonah Jones, a Falco contributor working at AWS. He's going to talk runtime security. And we have Daniel O as well, CNCF ambassador. So look forward to that chat. That's next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then, 8 p.m. GMT and 12 if you're on the West Coast. So
awesome. Yeah, that's going to be cool. All right, let's crash straight into the show with a very exciting article by Systig. You added this one, Michael. Was there any super awesome? This is a what's new. You talked a little bit about this last week, but then this article came out, which is frankly excellent.
Yeah, it's well written. It's so the release is supposed to be coming up, I think, for April 8th. So next week. And just you can kind of with every release, there's always what's new, what's moving to beta, what's moving to stable, what's getting deprecated. So, they started off with some of the editors' picks for, I think it's like the top 5. We have memory manager, scheduler, replica set down scaling. My favorite is this index job functionality.
Really?
Well, as just from the data science background, if I had this at my last job when we were creating parallel jobs, it would have been great for what they were doing. But yeah, network policy port ranges.
I was happy with that one. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so over 20 consecutive ports, you don't have to write 20 rules anymore. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy is like a lot of these things I think are, let's just say, tweaks to existing functionality or things moving from beta to stable. Specifically jobs and cron jobs, I think, are now moved to stable. So seeing a little bit more maturity of Kubernetes, it's good to see. There are a couple big things, which I think we've touched on, and it's right down there, is PSP, obviously officially deprecated. They're writing about it now. And I believe that they actually do a call out for...
Where?
Oh, do they not? They don't actually call out one of the pathway forward for PSPs. But if you're on Twitter, there's a couple people that are part of SIGAuth and SIG Security that are looking for new names for the new PSP replacement.
All right. That's cool.
So there's a couple joke ones of like pickle. It was like pod isolation context, something Kubernetes, whatever. They were just joking around though. But
yeah, it's fun acronyms though.
Yeah. But yeah, it's worthwhile to go and check this out. Just be up to date with it. I actually wanted to bring up a small little back and forth because I had a conversation with somebody the other day of what is your policy for upgrading clusters? Because I've had a couple people say that whenever they've had operators or a database in Kubernetes, you have to upgrade the clusters. You can't just stand up another cluster. And then other people will say, well, if you have all immutable pods running in your infrastructure, it's better just to set up a new cluster with a new version, port everything over, and then just move traffic when needed. So I thought I was kind of curious as to if you had a approach to upgrading clusters.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
I never have to upgrade clusters. I would probably go with the latter.
Yeah, because people were obviously there's a lot of headaches from 1.15 to 1.16 with some API changes. So
yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and there's just conversations around like, do you put your immutable workloads with your database workloads like on the same cluster? A lot of people want to do that because it's easier to manage a single cluster, let's say, and then scale that. But I actually find that everything that's immutable, so all of your jobs or cron jobs, it might be easier to have those in a single cluster and then have a database Kubernetes cluster that's separate, right?
Yeah, that sounds cool.
It's kind of a way to just like break your networks even further, right? And it also somewhat saves upgrade, because if you have something that's immutable, I can basically just go stand up another cluster. It's all configurable. There's no data transfer or anything like that, right? So I can upgrade that, and then I can have a different upgrade policy for the database cluster. Right?
So it's funny you asked this question. I'm going to skip because of this. You've, I am. I'm going to go out of order, and I'm going to jump to. Do I have it? Bang. This. This book came out this month, and in fact, the segment I was telling you about earlier, which is why I put this in the video, that you can get as a snippet without having to buy it, I think, is on upgrading. And so the answers to your questions by some industry experts are probably in this book, which I don't have yet. I actually did buy a copy. It's a little on the pricey side. I think we checked this out earlier. Yeah, so $66 if you're in America. It was £50. Well, that's about £50 in the UK. It's available, but it's new. It's only out this month. So this is like trying to answer the questions like you just said. Like, what's the best process for doing things like this? What's the best strategy that allows you to execute the best process later? So there we go. Maybe when we get this book, we can look up the answer to what you said and see if it agrees with you.
Interesting.
Yeah, because that is in here. All right, good. I jumped ahead. You let me go. All right.
No, yeah.
What's next? I will eventually know. This was the next thing I wanted to talk about in the show. It was a super short article about Kubernetes is so simple. That's hardly true. You can explore it with curl. That is true. kubectl is just a command line interface, abstracts away from the API, but it's a really nice, tiny, everything is a file example of saying this is how you could explore the Kubernetes API using curl. And they give you a nice, very simple how to create a kind cluster on your laptop so you don't have to do something. So you have something to play with. And then from there, you can start to curl the results and get information out of it. Now, I'm not going to go through it all, but it was just quite cool in that it ends with how to unpack what kubectl is doing in a very simple comparison. So I just thought this is like, because we've done a lot of conversations about CKAs and CKDs and whatever, right? And neither of those seem to get really into this sort of popping the lid on kubectl.
Yeah, what's underneath the hood?
Yeah, I thought it was a really nice, and I like articles because they're short, because I have a limited, what was I saying? Attention span.
Okay, Dad. Scroll down a little bit, because there's actually a really cool call out. Go up to Julia Evans, up kind of near a quarter of the way down. There's like a red link there.
Yeah.
So Julia Evans Comics, she does like a really good job at explaining a lot of Linux terminology and capability in like this comic form. Some of them are more technical, some of them are funnier, but yeah, worth checking out too if you are into that sort of thing. Yeah,
perfect. Excellent. Fantastic. All right. Our next subject. We have a lot of things on this show, so I'm kind of blowing through here. This is an article that was written in the Chief IO. One of the main authors for the Chief is actually one of the primary, I think, founders and maintainers of fawn.dev, which is a mailing list that one of many mailing lists that I'm on that feed this show and from which we curate content. And this one caught my eye because it was talking about advantages of OpenShift over Kubernetes. In a turtle debate, some people who are massive hardcore Kubernetes fans have said straight up, OpenShift is not Kubernetes. It deviates from certain rules of saying that's true. I don't think that's meant to be part of this argument. I think when they're saying advantages, they're not saying OpenShift is better. I think you said this when we were speaking earlier. If the use case is correct, and these are 7 good use cases, then OpenShift can be more useful for you. One of the obvious ones being, and you've done loads of research on this. So what is your take?
Yeah, I mean, it's not Kubernetes. I mean, if you go to the CNCF, they do the studies and they do their audits and they say, okay, it's a valid Kubernetes platform, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, even if you go on GKE, they hide the control plane nodes from you so that they can, actually make SLA specific agreements, right? So you don't go in and screw something up. Like, is that really truly Kubernetes? If I go and deploy something and I deploy Kubernetes on bare metal and I have to go and play around in that muck if I wanted to do it, like, yeah, okay, that's true Kubernetes. It reeks of like you don't know Linux unless you've installed Arch or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So the whole, is it Kubernetes, is it not? I find Kubernetes is, you don't want to manage Kubernetes bare metal. So what do? You just get something, you abstract a service, and then you interact with what you need to interact with. That's what OpenShift is there to do. OpenShift is just like, here's all these different operators and services. Oh, you want Grafana? Oh, you want Tecton for CI? Okay, well, like, there's your ecosystem, just like every other cloud provider. It just does it in a way that's pulled away from, let's say, your hosting service, right? Because OpenShift can run on AWS and Azure and GCP. Wow. That's really all it is. I mean, cloud platform agnostic. The argument against this obviously is you're linked into OpenShift. So it's like, yeah, you're agnostic of the actual platform, but you are in the OpenShift ecosystem. So you're trading the hosted service, the actual physical servers, for the software on top, right? In terms of your ecosystem and what you're buying into. But
yeah,
I mean,
you're locking yourself into the commonalities between those different providers.
Yeah. And partially, like, if you look at Anthos or EKS Anywhere or something like that, like those platforms, that is those companies trying to mimic OpenShift to a certain extent, because they realize, like, okay, well, I might want GCP's data visualization tools because they're top notch and I really like them, but I don't really want to run all the workloads on, maybe their virtual machines of their Kubernetes service, right? So what I do is I use OpenShift. I can run Kubernetes in AWS, run another cluster in GCP, and then just maybe only have my data visualization services in GCP, right? So you have that flexibility. But again, all use case dependent, and there's a case for it. So
yeah, they even extend beyond where I would even say you're not comparing Kubernetes anymore. Like, when you start talking about continuous integration, continuous delivery, I'm like, wait a second, are we talking about Kubernetes anymore? Or are we just saying it has this as well? It's like, but that's an add-on. Yeah, that's not really necessarily a fair comparison, because I think we were saying if I was comparing it to Rancher, for example, but if you were to combine a few things that you could use with Kubernetes, then maybe it would be a closer comparison. But it was a worthy read, and it caught my attention, and it was actually quite good to see that. All right, if you're looking to make a decision on OpenShift versus some form of managed Kubernetes, not a bad article.
Yeah, partially probably for the SEO factor.
Right?
Yeah, all those like so and so versus, like, the title works, but then the actual content is slightly different, right?
Yeah, that's funny. You know what you're talking about in terms of having this. So this is an SEO friendly blog, you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly what the goal of this blog is.
Cynical, but good. All right. So I already did this, so I'm going to jump straight to the one you popped in here, which was fascinating. PHP's Git server hacked to add backdoors to PHP source code.
Yes. And
I like it.
Yeah, hacked in a loose sense. I mean, to a certain extent, yes. So if you read that line right there, the threat actors had signed off on these commits as if they were made by known PHP developers and maintainers.
Yeah.
So most likely some sort of they had the maintainers SSH key or something like that. I believe GitHub, you can sign it up for SSH key and IP as well. I think if I sign into Git like through a VPN, it always flags me.
That's cool.
But yeah, so I mean, they caught this. It didn't impact upstream, right? It was pushed into the development branch, and they caught it within a day. So just more of a comment that these things happen, and if they're not caught and you're not vigilant, they get pushed into a release, and you have a backdoor into, what is it? Yeah, 79% of websites running on PHP. So it's a pretty big exploit if they got pushed.
That would have messed up a lot of WordPress people.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Did I miss anything?
Cool. No, that's really cool. I think it's fascinating because when you first threw it into the show, I paused on that line for ages thinking, huh? How did they get? Yeah. So that really, the hack, if you want to call it social engineering, just a mistake. You put something somewhere you shouldn't have. Somehow the credentials for these known, because we were talking like if I tried to commit code to this, they'd look at that and go, no, who are you? Yeah. You can't do that. Like that's the first defense is we don't know who you are. You can't just become an accepted committer of code to a major project like this. So I do wonder if they weren't targeted, like if this wasn't a planned attack. But
somebody with an axe to grind.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or somebody who worked with them that was then fired and was annoyed and you used to have insider knowledge. There's all sorts of conspiracy theories we can have, but it's interesting that it wasn't a technology-based hack. It doesn't look like. Yeah, fantastic.
And it didn't make it into everybody else's code too.
And that's good news, right? Yes.
Yeah, we caught one.
We caught one. Fantastic. This is a celebration. All right. It's the weekend. Yeah. Okay. So that is sort of the end of the news section. And then we get into, let's see if we have highlighted all of these in black. We have. Fantastic. So that means it's time for, where's the awesome killer. All right. Let's go to your favorite April Fool's. The cat in the hat attack.
I'll give it. Gave me, so I started reading it because it got posted to Reddit, and it took me about 15 to 20 seconds as I was reading it. I'm just like, oh, wow, I should have caught this sooner. But the cat in the hat attack used the crafted input to exploit the popular bin/cat software program. I started reading it, and it's well done, right? Like in terms of how they formatted and what they were doing, and then I was like, wait, what is going on here? Yeah, and then I was worse than
that. I was worse than that because I didn't read it on April Fool's, so I didn't have any reason to suspect it.
Oh.
I read it today, and I was like, "This is stupid." And then I got like, "There's T-shirts." What?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're kind of like, Q&A, am I affected by the bug? And then they're like, every single system, right? Like, this reeks of something's wrong. But
I love the commitment though. They bought the domain. Like they prepared this.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty cool. I like it. I hope it's like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. So this was I would love it if you're watching this show on YouTube or wherever after the fact. And if you saw another April Fool's Day technology or security or Kubernetes based thing that we didn't catch, throw it in the comments because that'd be kind of cool next week if we can, if anybody comments on this, to see ones that we missed. The one I saw that crossed my path and then vanished was, and my only example, if I blow this up, is the Google result. That's still, you can't delete Google, was this one. Oracle Cloud to acquire the Linux kernel technology eBPF from Cilium. And I'm like, what? I don't know if you watch the news. Liz Rice just went to Isovalent, who do Cilium. So I immediately I immediately pinged her and thought, you've done this, haven't you? But this was a joke, obviously. The idea that eBPF would be acquired by Oracle Cloud for a yet to be disclosed amount, following an early investment from Oracle, contributing eBPF support to GCC project, blah, 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 right? It's stupid. If you click through this now, let's do it. It's going to go to 404. Yeah, it's gone. And I even checked the Wayback Machine on the Internet Archive, and it was there. It was like this morning, and it's gone now. So they've even somehow scrubbed the Internet Archive. It's gone. So, I think our conspiracy theory about that is if I were Oracle, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah. They weren't brought in on it. And even still, I mean, I guarantee there's some reporters that thought this was real. So publicly traded company.
There was a little, this is on Y Combinator. You can see the reactions. What? Huh?
Yeah.
Fake April Fool.
Yeah.
Yeah. On Hacker News. That was pretty funny. But it was good. It was one of those ones you see it and go, huh? And that one I saw on the right day. So I didn't get caught at too long.
Mm-hmm.
Did I?
Oh, I mean, I just saw it this morning and I kind of went, what are you talking about? I was like, oh
yeah. See, I got you probably 10 seconds before you're like, that's going to change things. Okay, so that's the number one and the runner-up honorable mention for April Fool's technology. Please leave comments if you saw your own, and then we're going to move on to more boring but still relevant. Very short article here. Ameritalk government IT snooze. FedRAMP releases scanning requirements for cloud containers. It's things like this that make me super glad I'm not in the USA. You're Canadian. We don't have to deal with FedRAMP. These sort of federal, well, there it is, Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. If you're wondering what FedRAMP stands for, that's what it is. But they have released guidance for scanning for vulnerabilities in cloud containers. Yoo-hoo! But that's so behind. That was my comment here. Compliance regulations are generally behind what you really should be doing or should have been doing for quite some time. So it's in a way good news, but still a little bit of demonstrated, particularly federal government related things that aren't quite up to speed, but still I would expect governments who have to comply with FedRAMP will suddenly get all hot under the collar about scanning containers, which, can only be a good thing, right?
On the plus side, at least they're buying into it, but yes, the compliance is just a slow process, right?
It is the bare minimum,
unfortunately, but hey,
cool. Hey. So one last thing, and we are debating this because is this dude ready? Actual controversy. No joke.
Dun, dun, dun.
This guy, I heard about this guy from, well, lots of things, but recently it crossed my path at the very beginning of the week. Chris Short released a comment in DevOps-ish about him and a statement against him being reinstated, which is even in here. Was it open source? I can't remember that. I'm blanking on let's get before we condemn immediately. His history is that he goes way back as an open source guy. He launched the GNU project in 1983, right? It's, if we give him the positives, pioneered the concept of copyleft, free software license, leak for free programming, campaigning against software patents. Like, this all sounds super good.
It's an impressive resume, for being honest.
It's an impressive resume, exactly. Harvard University, MIT, it all gets really quite good until.
By the way, GNU or GNU?
I say GNU because
is there controversy in that? Yeah,
I used to say GNU when I was in Canada, and then for some reason I moved here and people started saying GNU, and then I was like, oh, all right, is that what we're doing now?
kubectl, right?
Yeah, versus the cube.
Tomato.
Yeah, really, like, and then it all goes to crap. Where? Oh, please tell me it's still in here, because I thought this is the only place I needed.
It. The return, to FSF. There it is at the bottom.
Yeah, there it is. March. His return the Free Software Foundation, is that it? Board of directors, because he was kicked out for controversy, resignation, because of his connection to and comments he made about basically Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. And it's like, if you read this section, it's not good. It doesn't, like, this is the thing. Did you read this yet? I told you not to, right? Yeah. No, wait, let me read this. Right? Writing on his, so as an acknowledged, this is him writing, Stallman, writing afterwards. He had learned, this is in September 14th. I have now learned, and wrote in his blog, through personal conversations in recent years, I've learned to understand how sex with a child can harper psychologically. This changed my mind about the matter. I think adults should not do that. What?
Yeah.
This guy's like 60.
Oh.
What? That's not a oops. Are you crazy?
So
it's bad.
So he had to resign, right?
But it's like, how do you write that down? There's a citation. And then what? 2 years go by and woo! Have everybody forgot about it? Everybody forgot? All right, you're back. That blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, too, right? Like, I think it's a little bit different also because the position's different, right? Like, if you're going to be the leader, somewhat of a leader on the board of directors of all this stuff, like of a community, you're also representing the community too, right?
Yeah.
Which means as much as you may have given a massive amount of benefit to a community over your lifetime, it doesn't necessarily mean that you actively represent your community now. And the community is also, I mean, there were 3,000 signatures to reinstate him. There's also a massive outcry to not have him. So it's like, why are we even making this decision? He doesn't represent, it's controversy that's not necessary, right? Like,
that's
shouldn't
correct.
be there. So
it shouldn't be there. This is ridiculous. I know, like, this is why I wanted to start and let's just recognize this guy did a lot, right? But let's now, your time you're done. It's, you did some bad things and now you've got to go, right? You can't be somebody that's leading. Like, this is not good.
And leading being the key term, right? That's the difference, is if the board of directors has a specific issue that they want to consult with him on that is very niche in scope, I don't necessarily see the problem if it's going to say stay about code, but you should not be on these calls like pushing community other than that, like
quietly contributing.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Well, because at the end of the day, I also, you know, it's a dumb thing to say. It's a pretty gross thing to say. I don't think that I don't think that you should also just absolutely kick them out completely, right? But at the end of the day, they should still actually be able to contribute in some way.
It's more like the fact he wrote this on a blog. It's not even what he wrote. It's how little he understood that even what that written thing says is like, not only do you not understand, or what you're saying you didn't understand, and now you know, you don't even understand how dumb it is to write that down. Like, that's another level of abstraction. He doesn't realize it's crazy. Yeah.
And I mean, I think at the end of the day, you are dealing with people when you're leading a community. And if you can't really recognize those aspects, then you just shouldn't be leading. But at this, not defending him necessarily, but just defending other people that might find themselves in awkward social situations. Because I also went to school with a lot of very, very smart people that can't necessarily navigate the social politics of the world, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't be a part of a community because somebody thinks that you can't navigate the social politics, right? You can still contribute. We could do it quietly. We could do it in a way where we're like not actively supporting you. But I don't know. It's a tough thing.
It's a tough thing, but it's just he's condemned the situation, but at the same time showed that he just is completely not in the right social spectrum to be any kind of publicly facing person in any way. So that's crazy.
I think it's the wrong move by the FSF. So.
It's the wrong move. Red Hat had a whole page condemning the whole thing as well. I'm sure among other people. So yeah, that was the one that's big enough to earn an extra bonus. All righty.
Hilarious. I don't
More,
like, where's that come from?
more.
Anyways.
let's moving swiftly forward on more fun stuff.
Tool time.
Awesome kubectl.
By the way, you did forget the meme container ship stuff.
Shoot, I did. I haven't even propped up just here.
I mean, I'm sure everybody's kind of sick of all the memes.
Yeah,
but
because last week I said this would happen. I called it. This was the first one I saw. Join InfoSec today, and you too could learn how to do this. That was the first one. Second one was from Nice Work Ashraf. No more Suez Canal jokes. That ship has sailed. Ah, very well done. Well played. And then this one from Kubernetes. Running Kubernetes in production, they said. It will be easy, they said. Very well done, Kubernetes. Dad Joke Friday. That won't be the end. What's that?
You need to update your browser, dude.
Oh, I do. Yeah, it's probably got loads of vulnerabilities. All right. I'm probably being hacked as we speak. Now, yeah. If now that's live, now somebody's after me. If that's a security update.
All right. Yeah. So I put this in. It's a good repo of just a bunch of kubectl plugins, and there's a ton here. I went through and I tried to find the ones that I had used before. kubectx was one that I had used before.
Yeah.
There's kube SSH, kubectl namespace too. A lot of it, kubectl grep. A lot of it has been just like being able to search through things. One of the ones that caught my eye that I actually hadn't used was the kubectl tmux logs. So it's one where it will open a tmux pane and bring pod logs into another pane, which is extremely useful if you're debugging. You just want to leave it up there and still go and interact instead of having two windows and going back and forth. Just pop it over into another pane and you can see all your logs while you're still working. So pretty cool.
I like that. Very cool.
I like that one. There's so much here that I kind of really need to go through and see what I'm missing, because I guarantee you I am missing out a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Like kubectl rainbow, simple binary for what is that, to colorize output.
That's neat.
Yeah,
some fun ones. Like, yeah, I'd be lucky if I know 10% of these.
There's a Cilium one there too, and an Ansible one as well, right? So
yeah,
for just directly interacting with those services, and
they're easy to make. So
yeah,
there's a lot of good. There you go, extending with plugins. So there's lots of instructions here if you want to write your own.
Yeah, Golang, Cobra, and Viper packages are really good, well maintained for CLIs. So pretty sweet if you're looking to create your own CLI.
Very awesome. Yeah, I like that one. That's really good. Where'd you get this one from? How did it cross your path?
I think it got sent to me.
Yeah,
my friend.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
But yeah, start, fork it, use it.
Start, fork it, use it. Absolutely. Very good. We're at the very end. This is the daring ending.
Yes.
All right. This is going to blow up my face.
Plans
so this
is
one. Yeah. This came to me, and I can't remember how. It was either in a fawn or it was in that new mindfulness newsletter that I'm on, which is one of the guys out of London, works for Contino. He just started doing his own newsletter, and I'd say it's slightly overwhelming, actually. He hasn't been doing it very long, but has so many links to so many things. He was at the meetup that we were at recently. I think my camera just decided to die. There it is. We're back. And I was questioning whether he's going to run out of steam, but this was definitely something that was in it. And I'm always curious because Preflight to me, it reminds me a little bit of, say, Kubernetes or any of the infrastructure as code checks, right? That are looking to see, have you done things right? When we were StackRox, used to use the phrase Preflight checks, because if you can check things in CD, then you don't have to wait for an admission controller or whatnot, right, to find them. So I got keen on it. So I came in and did a little investigation. I was also liking the fact that it used OPA and it was a SaaS. I thought, ooh, I got really interested. And then I got a little confused. So here's my actual thought process here. Let me run you through this. when it said install the agent, I did get a little wary because another agent, right? Like how many
Mhm.
agents can I have possibly running in my cluster? I didn't even understand Preflight agent, or I didn't want to build it myself. I didn't understand that it wasn't totally clear. And then I went down to installation and it took me to platform. So I went there. Boom. And what did it say? Installation. Please find our agent installation here, which took me right back to here. And so I was doing this for a bit. And I thought, oh my God, this is stupid. So I just logged into platform.jetstack.io with my GitHub account, which you can do GitHub or Google, either one gives you SSO. And it said, and it started here. And I thought, I don't have a cluster. All right, well, I will add a cluster. Groovy. All right, so we're going to call that cluster appropriate. There it is. Look at that. I've typed it enough times that it was already almost all filling. It's going to say, wait for it. Install the agent configuration, copy command clipboard. And you know what I'm like? I'm just, someone says copy command to clipboard. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll run that, whatever you want. All right. Or you can look at the command, which is hidden under this teeny little arrow there. So if you're impatient, you might not do it. But you can kind of see what's going on here. It's amazing that you can just get somebody to run so much. It's just one command, one teensy command. That's it.
Yeah, and then look at the whole configuration. There it is.
It creates a namespace called Jetstack Secure, big ass config map. So I was like, that's okay. Like that's kind of no harm done. It's just a lot of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the right environment. It does say, and there's a secret there with some. I'm not gonna scroll because that secret's probably just for me. And then it says run the agent. So I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
well,
which makes sense.
I have
a namespace, the config map, and the secret set up before you run the pod. So
it's actually, it was pretty clean. So I've got something sitting here. What are the odds that'll actually work, right? If I do that, that's a GKE cluster running, same as Pixie Labs. Remember we did the Pixie Lab demo?
Yep.
This Pixie Lab's still there, still running. Let's shoot. That was a mistake. Don't do that. Let's do a bit of lag. Let's see if yeah, Pixie Lab's still there. Still using it for monitoring. So let's see if they can run in tandem. This is probably a really stupid thing to do, to stick this other agent in, but it's in its own namespace. I think we're gonna be cool. All right, so that's that. I've not done this yet. So here's where it all falls to bits, right? Live testing, install the agent. You got any money on whether this is gonna work?
Sure, it'll work.
Yeah. All right. That's a beer. You owe me a beer if it doesn't work because you seem positive. It's
funny. Like, I trust you copying and pasting more than you do.
I never use equals. That's interesting. I guess that works. I just noticed that, Do you use equals? I don't.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't mean it's the same thing. I just never do it.
Mm-hmm. You can do a watch if you want. Just add a -w at the end of that.
It's not gonna.
There you go.
So lazy. I wonder how long this takes. If it never finishes, then that's the end of the aha.
There you go.
Hey, jackpot. All right.
Thanks for the beer.
Shit. It's a good thing you're 3,000.
Well, watch it go running and then just go to crash or something like that.
Well, I'm gonna. All right. So the agent is ready. If I click this, it says the agent is ready. Waiting for data. Let's accept all cookies. So Pixie Labs, just to talk around this while we're just sitting here waiting, if it all blows up, then that's the demo, right? Was very similar in that it had a one-line install. It tried to figure things out. It didn't. It had a curl that probably just ran a very similar one-liner script for you that it downloaded. It didn't give you as much visibility. It could have been dangerous. It could have been malicious, etc. And then it installed a series of agents, actually, that ran. And then it took you to a SaaS, and you got, I would say, okay visibility on a very dodgy looking floaty interface.
Mhm.
Whereas this still running. Sort of good news.
Still running. Oh, there you
Hey, look at that. Let's do it.
go. Your cluster. It would have been funny if you left cluster out of the name of the cluster and it was just like your cluster, you know?
Ah, we'll know for next time. Oh, so this is my one thing I have wrong. Not managed by cert manager. Well, yeah, I know that.
Yes, because you didn't have cert manager installed as well, right? So they want
No.
you to use their Jetstack cert manager with it, I think.
Hey, look at that. Oh, I found a problem with Pixie Labs, which is the other thing. That's very funny. What do we think? I didn't get a whole lot out of this. Did you?
What is it? What are we trying to gain from this right now?
Well, let's go back to the how-to, right? A tool to automatically perform Kubernetes cluster configuration checks using Open Policy Agent.
Gotcha. So it is running basically a bunch of OPA checks in the background when you install it, and then it's giving you warnings for policy violations or things that aren't set up properly.
Yeah, and so one of them must be this. There's my cluster. It seems a little lightweight at the moment.
Well, I was going to say, what are the checks that are configured?
Well, I kind of hoped I would figure that out. Like this would become, people don't read things, so I'm doing the real world. What's going on here, right? Like I know I can click and read about it. I thought there would be a series of pre-existing checks outside of just, am I using cert manager or their cert manager or whatever it is they want me to use. Anything I missed, or I think that was just a really quite lightweight.
Policies for cluster configuration are encoded into Preflight packages. Each package focuses on different infrastructure components. So I think that you also need to implement the Preflight packages and not just the actual agent.
Don't just do what it said. So I didn't do enough.
Well, I mean, I think there's configuring the, maybe it's not sending information because you don't have cert manager set up.
Do you think? Could be. It didn't tell me to install cert manager though.
I mean, it definitely did at the top there.
It did?
Yeah, because it's one of the number one alerts it's giving you. It's like, you need TLS.
Well, it is now, but when I first added, let more clusters.
Contact sales. They got you.
I'm only allowed one cluster.
I got you.
That's actually pretty smart. All right, I was trying to
I'm guessing that they're like, because it should at least. Here's the thing: is it should at least give you the checks that it's run. You can't just go like, here's one error. You need to go, here are the 100 checks I've run. I've come up with one error, right? Like,
yeah, I am confused.
But that's why
maybe.
No, I mean, regardless of if you missed it or not, in this, so there's like total certificates and issuers, there should be some sort of like pane for the checks that are actually being done. So that's why I think I'm missing something. Yeah.
Where's my successes?
Exactly.
What did I succeed? What am I good at? Then what did I fail at? All right. I don't want to sit here and have people like going, no, it's going to be right. There's going to be people who watch this who, like, you ever watch a demo and you see someone make a mistake and they progress past it and you're like, no, you can't. You can't draw them back to the error. All right, someone's going to do that and write it in the comments on YouTube. Tell me what kind of an idiot I am and where I missed it.
Well, yeah, because I did the noob Cuvius demo, and then they pinged me on Twitter like, "Hey, check out our documentation." And I was just like, "Yes, I should read the documentation. We know." Yeah,
let's go, an idiot. Nobody reads documentation. It's got to be like a PlayStation game. It just tells you what to do as you go.
Yeah. Which is why UI UX designers get paid their worth in gold. Because, like, there you go. Make it simple, make it easy. Don't send me back and forth between GitHub, please. Thank you.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. All right. That's not. I'm gonna play a bit more with that.
I was gonna say we'll come back next week if we figure this one out and walk you through it.
Yeah, and issue a retraction. in 2 weeks. It gives me 2 weeks to figure out what kind of moron move I made there. I'll put Cert Manager on there and see if it tells me I have the perfectly secure cluster now. I'm also at GCP, so I could have gone to the marketplace and done Cert Manager through marketplace because they do say that that's there.
Yep.
But we'll see. I tried. I like doing these kind of like totally raw. This is what an idiot's install version looks like.
I think it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot specifically because PSPs are deprecated and the replacements coming in. You know, I think there's going to be a push for OPA / some sort of massive policy manager, right? So it's a good tool, good space. How it's implemented, it's going to vary based off of the company, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, totally.
But
know what I noticed for this week? We had no big spenders.
Yeah, we did not. I thought you were going to do the big spender intro before the April Fool's announcement as like a joke, but
we could have.
April Fool's big spender.
But it's funny, you know, I wonder if that's what's going to happen because we know a lot of people's financial year ends in March. March/Feb. So we just like started the show and suddenly we just got inundated with money flying around. And now it's April and it's like, no, we don't have any money anymore. All the money's gone. Sorry. And that could be the death of that whole segment for a while. We'll see.
That'll be around. We have 2 weeks.
Back, right? Yeah, we have 2 weeks. That should be a really good show in 2 weeks. Join us in 2 weeks at 5 p.m., 12 noon Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Time, whatever you're on now. And then the rest of the West Coasties, they know when theirs is 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Yeah.
9 a.m. now. That'll be cool. And then next week, a reminder of our shout-outs. I'm not at this meetup. You are.
Yes. So Tam and myself will be running the Kubernetes Security Meetup. So go check out Kubernetes Security on Twitch. Daniel O and Jonah Jones will be talking, and we have some cool speakers coming up too in the next couple months. So we'll be announcing it then as well. Look forward to seeing you there. You know.
All right. Nice one. Cool. And of course, join us again in 2 weeks. There will be no show next week because we don't do a show in the same week as the Cloud Native and Kubernetes Security Meetup.
But if you missed some and you want to, listen to us a little more, check it out on YouTube. We have all the videos saved there as well.
Boom.
Boom.
Just search for us on Twitter, YouTube, and email thatthing@gmail.com if you want to contact us and want to be on the show as a guest talking about technologies and tool time. We have some guests planned, top secret, coming in the next few months. Yes, we're going to have a third person on the panel. That'll be totally awesome. Yeah, and if you just want to make comments and criticize us or like tell me I'm a moron for the way I did that demo, totally up for that.
I'll tell you, Steve. Anytime you want.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. Otherwise, I think we're done. Cool.
Cool. Have a good long weekend for most people. And I'm Mike Foster.
Happy Easter.